Amania. Hey.
Hello everyone. Amania here. I'm today with the conservative poet here on YouTube. So we're happy to be with you on a Friday.
I love coming live on a Friday. Friday's my favorite day. It's a day of the week where we're kind of like decompressing. We had the whole week. We're getting prepared for the weekend. But you know what? Let's have like meaningful conversations about what's going on. Instead of hanging out at the bar and stuff like that, let's have a conversation, patriot to patriot, about what we're feeling, what we're seeing, and what's most important to us on our hearts. So, right?
Yes, I'm so glad you said that because I remember Friday nights used to be the night to go and hang out, and because we couldn't wait for it because we worked all week and we needed that break, we needed that, and then the weekend come and then we dread Monday coming back. But Friday was always that. Okay, let me just get to Friday. Let me just get to Friday, right? And now
I just want to be able to like express myself, be like, oh, this week was like, this is what what happened this week and what's going on, and the insanity in the world and the culture and what's going on in our government. We could just come together and be like, oh.
Yep. Yeah. So now we take on a Friday, and normally we do this live stream midday, but unfortunately today we couldn't get it done. I had some life was happening, and so he's like, well, we'll do it tonight. And so I am really glad that we're here and we are doing it. We're making lemonade. No matter what, we try to stick to our obligations as it is. That's the way we execute. That's the way we do things intentionally. So I'm really glad that we're here doing it tonight.
Well, it's all about what are we experiencing in our communities? What are we hearing? What are we seeing? How are we feeling so that we can give voice to what's going on? Because we can't be the only ones that are looking at what the USAID is doing, what the Department of Education is doing. Like, they're eliminating men and women's sports, like all these different things that they've been talking about, like in the ether. And it's like, what are the everyday people? What are the Amanias and the Julianas thinking about those things? Right? Because yeah.
Well, you're right. There's been lots going on in the news cycle, and President Trump has been busy with a lot of things. And one of the things that he was busy with is this, keeping men out of women's sports. So that was signed, I believe, this week. The Laken Riley Act, was it? Was it Laken Riley? Or no, that was last week.
I'm looking to my producer.
It's Riley Gaines. They both have
Riley Gaines. That's right.
I couldn't think of it, but yes, Riley Gaines, and I know she was there. President Trump gave her a great, because I've made many videos on Riley Gaines and what she's done, and I've actually seen her live. I saw her live this year, actually, a couple of months ago, and her story is amazing. Again, she was a swimmer who, a biological male, Leah Thompson, who could not perform in men's sports. He just couldn't hack it there. And he says, well, you know what? I'll just become a transgender. And there he went. He became a transgender. And they said, okay, you can compete against women. And so they took that and ran with it. And I know there's videos out there on the internet, because I covered this a lot, because it's a real bothersome thing for me, especially when women are being treated in this manner, especially when it comes to women and sports. And this is an arena where women can thrive and really excel. Like, this is what it is. And what we're seeing in the society is that men and boys are taking over these spaces. Like, my son is an athlete. He runs track and he plays football. But really, when I think about the athlete girls, the runners, and you see young boys, beating them in that way. And so Riley Gaines was like, no, I'm not going to sit around and let this happen and not speak up. And so she stood up against the machine, and they called her all kinds of racist. They called her all kinds of homophobe, all kinds of, phobias, whatever it is. They called her everything in the book. And I remember, I think it was like 2 years ago, she was on one of the college campuses, and she was bombarded by LGBT protesters. She was just Because of why? Because she's saying she's standing up for girls. She's standing up for women, you know? And so that was signed into law today. And I don't know when it was, but anyway, Riley Gaines was there, and President Trump did a great thing in making sure that, you know, this thing passed and that women are protected, right?
You said something really, really important. And the fact is that women need to be protected, right? When I look at our Second Amendment, when they want to take away gun rights, they're taking away my ability to be able to protect myself against somebody who's a lot bigger than I am. You know, men in sports, you know, we need to be protecting women in sports and our ability to be able to compete against each other, females, not against men, because biologically, you know, we can't compete against men, which is why the Second Amendment is so important for women, right? At what point do we start making the connection, understanding the fact that a lot of the stuff that we're seeing is against we, the women, right? They went after the men. They say, you know, masculinity, toxic masculinity. Why? Because they want to come after the women. Why? Because they really want the kids. You know, at the end of the day, we need to stand in the way between, you know, the criminals and the children. And when you're talking about men being able to be in women's sports, no,
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 it's not right. It's not right.
Yeah.
It's not right. And, you know, and like I said, I've covered this extensively, this very topic. And so when I look back at some of the work that I've done on this topic, I remember I made a video in reference to the history of sports and women's sports and how it started, like the track stars and all of those women. And again, there were people that look like me, you know, black and browns. Those were the women that were benefiting. It's true. They were the ones benefiting from this. We have Jackie Joyner-Kersee, JoJo, you know, God rest her soul. She died young. She was so beautiful. She was a great runner. But all of these Black women who paved the way and did these things. And I said to myself, even though Jackie Joyner is still alive, like people like JoJo who's passed, and I'm just like, you know, they paved the way. They did this thing. They did the hard work for women and girls to have these opportunities. And now we have these women and girls who are now in the space, you know, the Serena Williams and the you know, all of the different women runners and so on. And I'm like, Riley Gaines is standing alone. And I remember one video I made and I said the great white hope. And I said that because when you look at the sports, Black women have been the ones who really benefit a lot, right, from these things. And so, and I made a funny about it, the great white hope, because she's standing alone. She's not standing with Serena Williams, not standing with her. All these other athletes aren't standing with her. She's standing on her own. And I said it, the great white hope. That video got 57,000 views, and it was a short. Wow. It got 57,000. And I was just like, wow, I didn't even, but it was the title of how I did it. And there's this white face on there saying, again, she is the one saving women's sports when Black women is essentially the ones who's really been benefiting through this kind of, through sports, track and field and so on. But yet it's Riley Gaines who's standing up for all women in the arena. So, you know.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that the Black females and the white females are not coming together supporting Riley and what it is that she's doing?
I don't know. No, nobody's standing up with the women anymore. Where the feminists at? Where they at? But no, everybody is now woke. They would prefer to have biological men competing against women, against we the women. So I'm very curious, and I throw Serena's name out there because I want her to hear it. You know, I want them to hear it. These women who come out here and pretend that they're for women. You're not for women. You're for men competing against women. You're for men being in our bathrooms. You're for men overtaking our spaces. So don't come to me like you're for women. You're not. You're for on your own pockets. And that's where you stand. You're not for us. Because if you were, you'd be standing up and saying, no, men and women's sports is not something that I'm going to use my platform. I'm going to use my voice and I'm going to stand up against this. And I'm going to say, I'm standing for we the women because I am one of these women. Right. But
so I always said that, you know, all the stuff that happened in the 50s and 60s and the women's lib and whatnot, it really hurt us. Now we're at the point where the younger generation, the females are saying, I just want to be able to stay home and be a stay-at-home mom, but it's poo-pooed against. And my husband doesn't make enough money to be able to support me to be able to do that. But what happened? Do we just go into this feminist movement blindly, not understanding that it was to our own demise? And now we're at the point where we've got a Riley Gaines standing on our own, and we're all these women. Right? You were rallying back in the 60s and 70s going women's rights, but where are you now? I'm looking at my society going, I'm sorry, but I don't even recognize what's going on around me. How come we're not protecting the females? Where are the men not protecting the women? What happened to the family structure? Where's the church in all of this? How come the Christians are not standing up going, this is not right. This is not biblical. What we were told and taught that we were supposed to be going, with the type of life that we're supposed to have. At some point do we go, this is not the culture that we said that we wanted to have. This is not what we signed up for.
Yeah. It's so funny. This week, I think it was maybe 2 days ago, and I did a post on it to my community on the Conservative Poet, and it was a national women and girls sports day, and I made a good post, and I compared the two. I had men who are transgenders in sports, and I did a post with women who are women in sports, and I used Riley, JoJo, and our new basketball star. I can't think of her name right now, but those were the women that I used because they're in the marketplace right now. They are the voices. They are the future. And so, they need support, right?
Yep.
But when we look at the other umbrella where they are allowing these biological males to compete against women, they're taking away a spot. Like we started talking about how these spaces were, it's Black women, a lot of Black women thrive in these spaces. Well, when you put a man in that space, they're all about diversity, equity, and inclusion for the Negro woman. So when you take away that spot from the Negro woman, what happens then? Why aren't they up in arms? Because this is a male, right? Taking over women's spaces. Where's the protest? Where's all the where is it? Where are they?
Shh, you're not supposed to speak up. Shh. No, not allowed. Because you know what? Culture is taking over the pulpit, and culture is telling us, the left is telling us, Christians, how we're supposed to behave and what we're supposed to be accepting in our society. When I stand up and I say, more Black babies are aborted in New York City than born, and I'm called a racist for standing up for the babies. Okay, we've got something going on. But you know what? Our Bible told us that when society became, what Black is white, right, was right is wrong. And we're looking at that today. We're at the point where it's it's okay to abort a baby in the 9th month, right? But it's not okay for us to, we've gotten to the point where our society is just so backwards.
Yeah.
So backwards that we've got Riley Gaines standing by herself. Where are all the women having the conversation? Where are the women? The reason why you and I are having this conversation, because we're like two women going, where are all the other women going? We need to have a conversation, because if we're not going, men, stand up and protect us, because we're standing in the gap between those that want the children, right? And the children. We need to protect them. But first and foremost, we the women need to come together. But we've got this movement going on that, if you don't wearing the pink pussy hats and stuff like that you're not. And I'm like, no, I want to go back to the conservative Christian. The church was the center of the culture. The family was so important. The number one job was raising children. They're our future. Can we go back to that society where we're saying, no, we want to go back to what America was really all about? And we can have men and women's sports if we're going to have that. There's no way.
No. It's the laws are being broken and dismantled. And you bring up a very good point. And when I think about, if we as the adults, if the men aren't protecting us, because yes, I know that we as women have to fight for what's ours, because we are women. This is us. Our men, sure, they will help, but if they don't see we the women rising up and coming to the forefront and saying, you know what, we're gathering together, we're banding together as women, the men are gonna be like, yeah, I got your back. I got your back. And I know in a society we'd want them to be the one at the forefront. But in this case, I think it's we the women that needs to band together to be able to protect what is ours. And once we're able to do that, then we can protect the children. Because if we're being erased, how are we going to band together to protect the children? We're fighting, trying to keep ourselves alive. We can't get you a life raft, baby. I'm trying to stay up myself. Right?
That leads right into the Department of Education. And Trump saying, you know what, we need to get rid of this. Because, you know, our children have been so hurt by the department and what they've done. We went for like number 1 or something like that in education down to 34, I think it is. Like, what is the Department of Education doing? First of all, it's our responsibility, we the parents, to be educating our children. Let's start off with that, right? Okay, so if we're going to say, okay, we want someone else to educate our children, right? The Department of Education obviously is not it. When Trump is like, men are men and women are women, and take down your LGBTQ, whatever flags in the back of your classroom. Who allowed that to happen? Who said, you know what? We should be indoctrinating these children. We should tell them that this ideology, when did their ideology start to dominate the classroom, that they're having these conversations, or that they're persuading the children to think a certain way? You know, if these things were happening when I was a kid, I was a tomboy out on the street playing the football, the manhunt, the wiffle ball, all that other fun stuff. Like, they would have targeted me. You know, and I take a great offense to the fact that I'm sitting back going, wait a minute, you mean, hold on a second. Let me start with this. Ready? My children are 35, 33, no, 36, 33, I don't know, and 25. Okay. Yeah, I know. Like, we'll get to the calculations. My youngest one came home from high school with a friend, and this friend said to me, I'm non-binary. And I was like, what? I didn't understand. Non-binary? What the heck is that? And she goes, non-binary. I'm like, what's that? And she's like, I don't identify as a male or as a female. And I thought to myself, this child heard something that obviously another child didn't come up with, right? So the cultural difference between my first 2 children and my youngest one, I kept thinking was, thank God I got my daughter out just in the nick of time. Like, thank God, because she was around all these people that were influencing her in a way that I was like, this is so antithesis of what it is that I would want my child to be involved with, people that I would want her surrounded by. And she's got this indoctrination going on in her high school. And I thought, how did this happen? How did I have, the older children and have no issues to the point where now I've got my daughter and she's dealing with this right here in Altamont Springs, Florida. This is not like some other country or some other state or something like that. That's happening right here in my backyard, where they're changing culture the way that they are. At some point, like, the women need to stand up and say, no, this is not what we signed up for. This is not the direction that we want our education to go, our families to go, our culture to go. So I'm excited about what's going to happen with the Department of Education. So they're going to kick back all the responsibilities back to the states. Let's see what the states do. What do you think, Amania?
Well, I'm excited for it as well. And just to cover a little bit more in reference to it, I mean, this is what these people want, right? They want confusion in our children. They want confusion. And the best place to do that, the best place to hone in and do that is where? In the schools.
School.
away from Mama Bear, away from Papa. They're in the schools.
right.
They'll be able to do whatever, teach them whatever. These kids can't even read, right? I had a chart that, let me put it up. I just want us to see. This is in the city of Chicago. You can put it on the screen if you're able.
I don't see it.
Oh, here it.
You can just share it.
Yeah.
No, I don't have it. No.
All right, let me try again. Oh, I know what happened. I didn't share.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here it is. So I'll share.
There it is. There it is. Add to
Okay.
stage. Here we go. Go ahead.
All right. So, I guess this whole thing comes up. So anyway, here it is. This is Chicago. This is in Illinois. This is 30 of the schools that they have picked up. And as you can see here, all of the dollars, and again, this is a place that gets a lot of money, right? They get a lot of money. But when you look at it, we'll just look at the first one. If you can tell the number of students who are reading proficient, 0 all the way down, okay? And this Lovejoy Middle School out there in Brooklyn District 188. And so it's getting the school spending per student $17,663 per child, and they have 30 students in this school. I don't know what kind of school it is, but with that kind of money and 30 students, just 30, how is it that nobody can read? And then it goes all the way down. The numbers go up. There's one that even has Douglas Academy High School, $56,000, a little bit over 56,000, 44 students in this school. How many can read proficiently? 0. And this is what I'm talking about, right? This is what the education system has done. We keep pouring money in, but yet the children aren't reading what they need to know. But they do know that there's 10,000 different genders. They do know that there is all kinds of what's binary, what's cisgender, what's social justice warrior. They know all of these different things, but they don't know how to read. They don't know how to do math. They don't know how to write. How are they going to be productive citizens in the society? They're not even being trained. But guess what? They've got the agenda upon them, so they can know how to come out here and be woke leftist idiots. And then they just sit around on the system and learn how to collect a check for doing nothing. And it sickens me.
So that's the reason why RC and I created the Watchman Action Program, okay? Because it's like we need to get our children involved in what's really happening. They need to be awake in what's going on. We need to have our people coming together and saying, you know what? Here's an issue that's important to me that's happening in my community or in my state, and this is what I want to do about it. The children need to be involved. We need to not put them off to the side so that the leftists can get their hands on them and tell them what they need to be believing. We need the children to be thinking, right? And being able to critique what's actually happening around them so that we, the parents, are flooding the zone for them to be able to hear the truth. Not what, the propaganda wants them to know, not what the left wants them to know, but what the truth is, right? What we want them to know. I'm really excited about what's happening with the Department of Education. I'm really excited to see how the states respond to it. Yeah. That's going to be a really big deal. Like if Trump is like, no, the states need to be handling the whole Department of Education, responsibilities now that they're going to be gone. What are they going to do? Mm-hmm. How are they going to respond? What is DeSantis going to say about it?
I don't know. I'm hoping that, I think he's always wanted that for it to come back to the states. But we have a congressman right here in District 10, Maxwell Forst, who today was at the building of the Department of Education. And, the doors are locked. Y'all can't get in. And so I'm going to pull up a clip of him out there addressing these things. And again, it just goes to show you, this is an Uber driver, right? With no education, with nothing, but he is a congressman. He is a puppet to the left. And again, out here fighting to keep your babies, your children dumb and dumber, because this is what they do. But here he is, Maxwell Forst. I'm going to pull him up. So we can just, it's only about a 40-second clip.
Do a share.
Boom, I share.
There we go.
You got him?
I got him, but we can't hear him.
Okay. We have to, oh, I know. Do I have to?
Probably.
I have to press. Oh, I know.
Yep, there it is.
Hey, everybody, I'm here with multiple members of Congress. We're here to go to the Department of Education to fight for education, and they have locked the doors. They're not letting us in. It says all access entrance. There's this random guy out here who's refusing to let us in.
His name is
And right
Jim
here,
Harefield.
what's his name?
His name is Jim Harefield.
And right here, they have armed officers as well, acting like we're dangerous. A year ago, I'd be able to walk into this building and not be locked out. This is what they're doing. Elon is allowed in, but not you, not your elected representatives, not parents, not students. Elon can go in, his goons can go in, but not the representatives of the people. Hey, everybody, I'm here with multiple members of Congress. We're here to go to the Department of Education to fight for education, and they have locked the doors.
Okay, there.
So he's a great puppet talking head, nothing more than that. Yeah. Do you know that Maxwell Forst walked into my location, the Lab Orlando, when it was open? And he started talking about, you know, gun controls and stuff like that. And I said to him, "You're in the wrong place." I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice. I was the VP of the gun club. My degree is in forensic psychology. You're talking to the wrong woman. So when he's knocking on the door going, "You're not allowed in," you're not allowed in because big people are doing the work that needs to get done. Because we're seeing all the crap that you guys have been doing inside the Department of Education. If you really cared about it, Maxwell Forst, your fanny would have been there a long time ago, having conversations with them about why is that we've got zero proficiency in reading in all these different areas. Why is it that we're slacking in the Florida educational system? If you really cared, then you would have been there a long time ago. But this is all propaganda. All they're doing is like, we're going to theatrics. We're going to put on a show and we're going to show up and everything is, you know, pre-done. It's all theatrics. Like, seriously, dude. At some point, we just have to go, we're seeing right through the baloney of what it is that you're doing. Yeah. You don't care about the kids. If you cared about the kids, you'd have been there a long time ago.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They don't care about the kids. They don't care about their future. They don't care if they learn how to read or write, if they're able to later on get a job, how they're going to provide for themselves and their family. Because again, they want to, again, destroy the family structure. And so young people not being educated, them not knowing how to be functioning adults, just leave them to be just out here in Loserville, right? Not being able to get married, not being able to come together and bring a family unit together. Again, at the end of the day, it's all the same. It's breaking up the family, destroying the future, and that's what it is. And it really shows clearly when something like bringing this back to the hands of we the people, because that's what's going to happen when they return it back to the states. It's going to be in the hands of we the people, and the state will be able to do what, because when you think about it, all of us, the United States of America, yes, we have the federal and the national, but essentially we're our own units. We're our own country. We really are. And we should be able to govern in that manner, not at the federal level, but it should be done at the state level, and then of course at the local level, right? That's what we need to be doing. But no, they want it all at the top, because guess what? That's where the bureaucracy lives. That's where nobody has eyes on what's going on, and nobody knows. Just like what's happening this week with IDA, right?
AID.
AID, with that being closed, right? They went to the building too and did theatrics. Oh, we can't get into the building. It's a dog and pony show. That's it. Exactly. And we, the people, are seeing right through it again. Why wouldn't you want to have transparency? Why wouldn't you want the public to know that we are funding sex changes in other countries? Why wouldn't you want them to know that we are literally, I mean, there's a whole list of so many things. I don't have it with us today, but there's a list of
ridiculous
that we are covering. And it's like, wait a minute, we're doing all this in foreign countries. Jamaica, for example, they got a whole LGBT thing going on, and we are funding it. And I was on the radio yesterday, and we talked about it. My Jamaican man, nobody boy up in here, nobody boy. Yeah. But this is what it is. There's a whole program, millions of dollars of our taxpayer money to go fund LGBTQ X, Y, and Z nonsense across the globe. Again, this is how they're using this agency to put their footprints, again, to push the agenda. We know places like, there's places in Africa that's not down with this get down. They're not down with this. But little by little, they're putting these little programs. They're doing this. But the actual truth of it is, Juliana, it may tell us that on paper that, they're sending this money to X, Y, and Z. But in actuality, they're
laundering it
around and coming right back into their pockets.
So my story really is about the fact that I'm just so pissed off at the systematic abuse that I have occurred myself, that has gone, that I see happening today. Like the things that we are seeing, they're by design. None of it needs to be happening. All the negative stuff that you see, it's done by design. Who's making money off of it? Because just as easily as they, by design, make all the ills, is by design they can make all the good stuff. And they're not doing it. What happened with the USAID, right?
USAID is what it, USAID.
They probably don't want, first of all, our founding fathers told us that we should not get involved with other countries like that. Okay, we should be talking about just our country alone. And the only time we're talking to other countries is, you know what, we want to talk about, you know, trading goods and stuff like that. And what does that look like? Outside of that, we shouldn't be involved in what's happening. So let's start with that. Number two, USAID proved the fact that our founding fathers were correct, because they were using our money to push their agenda on other countries and doing what they wanted to do, acting independently as if they had no oversight from our federal government whatsoever. Like at this point, we need to sit back and go, what they've been doing to us in our country, and then using our money, stealing our money to be able to do negative to other countries, which hurts all of us as a people group, right? At some point, we have to go, no. I am so glad that they went in there and they're like, look at all these millions and billions of dollars that are about to like unleash, that we can go, look at all this money. We can now help the vets. Look at all this money. We can help all the homeless. Look at all this money that we can now do. Let's close the border. Let's go get all the illegals out. All the people that are criminals, you're gone, right? Because all this money is like should be redirected the way that it needs to be. But here's the caveat. Ready? For all the people that are listening to what it is that we're talking about, it is our responsibility to step up and say, this is what we expect to be happening. Because if Trump is doing and pulling back and going, here's money and here's responsibilities that I'm going to kick back to the states, right? What are we, the people, saying, hey, states, hey, local government, what are you doing now? What programs? How are you using the money? If you're getting now all these responsibilities because the federal government is supposed to get smaller, because our federal government, the bloat that's going on, right? We got all these people that are taking their buyouts. Good, bye. I don't want to see all these federal employees. Bye, right? So how do we take those monies and those responsibilities and bring it back to the states? But it's our responsibility, especially the church. Stand up, church. You got to stand up. Okay, because it's our morals and it's our responsibility to go out there and take territory, right? What is it that we're telling these elected officials what they're supposed to be doing? Because they work for us. We don't work for them, right? They don't have they're not kings and stuff like that. They're supposed to be doing what it is that we've called them to do. But if we, the church, don't stand up and say, this is what we expect of you, right? Yeah. Trump is like, he's looking for people to say, this is what I want. He's got the globalists are talking to him in one ear, and we got to be talking to him in the other. If we want Trump to be doing what it is that we want to do, we got to talk louder than the globalists are talking, because they're talking to him. Yeah. Right. But we, the church, need to take that responsibility.
Well, I would love to see the church stand up and do what it's supposed to do. And, we talk about this all the time, but it really, truly is the failings of the church. Because when we really look at it, one of the reasons we're in these situations is because of the moral decay of we, the people, of the human society. This is really our problem. That really is. It's the moral decay. Because Maxwell Forst, if he had any kind of morals in him, knowing that the students are failing at every level, why would you be at the Board of Ed there protesting so you can keep it open when you know? If you had morals, you would know that this is no good for the children. Again, the church is the one who has really failed us by one way they failed is that they no longer practice as a church. And I said to somebody the other day, the church can barely do what it's supposed to do, saving souls. It's not even doing that. Because if you were saving people, if you were saving souls, if you were implementing the moral structure, of the commandments to people, and people were really there, we would not see the decay that we see in the society. It's a moral decay. That's what it is. And until we can get ourselves on track that way, it's only going to get worse. It's going to continue. I mean, right now we are talking about, this whole transgender stuff. We're talking all of these things that they're teaching to the kids in school. And I don't want to bring this up here, but I'm going to bring it up right here. Again, we're losing more morals and things like that. It's a decay. So before you know it, they're going to be advocating for sleeping with animals. They're going to be advocating for, what is that called? When you're with animals? What is that?
I don't know, but it's disgusting. I don't know. I don't even want to know what it's called.
Advocating for that. I mean, they're advocating that, men can become women can become women, men can get pregnant, we're headed into the cliff, or we're already over the cliff. And then at the bottom of the cliff, it's going to be, oh, well, I should be able to sleep with whatever I want, not just whoever I want, but whatever I want.
Amania, we're under judgment. We are under judgment. Father tells us we're under judgment. Like, think of the fog, right? Everyone's like, oh, there's bacteria. That fog is a weaponization of, it's a weapon. It's a weapon. We're under judgment. I think people need to really wake up to the fact that we're seeing this stuff because Father's allowing this stuff to happen to us. We got sex change operations happening on children in my here, like within miles of my home. These things are happening. You think that Father's not going to judge us? You think that we're not under condemnation at this point? How many babies have been aborted? How many lives are supposed to come in and do? God had gifts for them, callings for them, things that they needed to do, but we're carelessly going, oh, you know what? Up to the moment of birth, we can just kill the kid. You're going to tell me that God is not judging what it is that we're doing? We're not back to Sodom and Gomorrah. We're not back into the days of Noah.
Yeah.
I don't know about the audience, but I'm terrified. I'm looking going, y'all need to stop this crap because, I know that I know where I'm going. But having said that, I don't want to be here when all this stuff is going and becoming chaotic. You got to look around and go, this is not what God intended for us to be experiencing in life. No way.
No.
This
is really insanity. And, the book tells us, these are the signs. We are seeing the signs of the end. And, for me, I'm not afraid of thee. I'm not afraid of it because I'm with Jesus. And so, but for people who are not with Jesus, and they're seeing these things, and people are afraid. The wars, they told us the wars was
Right.
coming. They told
Right.
us these are some of the signs, these diseases, the COVID, whatever they're cooking up there in Africa. All that stuff is coming for us. The book tells us, we have our instructions. We have the manual. The manual tells us everything. How to be prepared, how to see these things and recognize it, and just know that be with Jesus. Don't be afraid of what you're seeing because it's happening. But in the same breath, we are called to stand up and speak on these things. We cannot be quiet about these things, even though we know, like, okay, yeah, these things we still have to stand up against evil. And again, this is where the failings of the church comes in. The failing of the church, we're going to always lay it at the feet of the pastor, at the feet of the church, because they have failed we the people.
So yesterday, we interviewed Beverly Beatty Williams. She's one of the pro-lifers that was Trump signed that get them out of jail. Mm-hmm. And I watched her on the Lila Rose show, and I'm saying all this because of the shell shock, like everything that we as a country have been through. And I'm watching her in her interview with Lila, right? And you can just see what this poor woman went through, the abuse that she went through. She went to jail for 3.5 months. She was supposed to get almost 4 years, right? Yeah. But for the last 3 years, she was basically tormented. She couldn't leave her area without calling the police officer, whatever, her probation officer. Like, there was so many restrictions that she had to go through, and going to court and raising the money so she can go to court, and having a baby, and leaving the baby and everything. Like, what this woman went through, I'm sitting here going, she represents you and I. Because they can come knocking on my door just as easily they come knocking on your door, just as easily they came knocking on her door and said, you're a Christian and you're fighting for something that we, the establishment, or we, the left, or we, the Satanists, don't believe in. Yeah. So we're going to persecute you in what it is that you're saying and that you're doing, because the church hasn't stood up. Right. So you've got a church member that's standing up going, I need to say something. We need to have a voice, right? We need to be uplifting the people like Beverly and what it is that they're doing. We need to give them a platform and say, you need to be talking about what's important. You need to be talking about what's biblical. You need to be leading the conversation, because we, the people, have gotten lost. Right? We become apathetic to what's going on. We don't understand that we're killing off our own children. We don't understand what the ramifications of what that means when we're doing things like that. We need to have the voice of reason out there, like the Beverlands, and saying, you know what? You need to have the platform to be able to say, killing babies isn't right.
No, it's not right. It's not right at all. And,
You just muted yourself. Miss Amania, we can't hear you. She's talking to somebody. So anyway, when I saw Beverly, the shell shock of her demeanor was so like, it hurt me. It hurt my soul watching her, because I knew that at any moment that could have been me. That could have been you. What the J6ers went through, how long were they in there? How many years were they in there? And what they had to go through. Can you imagine that?
I can't imagine that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be interviewing one of the J6ers. I think next week we're going to set it up for then. One of the ones who just got pardoned by President Trump as well. But, that is really a close thing to my heart, because like you say, there could have been a knock at the door at any time. And for what? Being at your capital, you know, anybody who was anywhere near, they were roping people up who were not even in DC, but were in Virginia or were, you know, nearby. And it's crazy. And what happened to Beverly is just unbelievable, that in this country that, I mean, this woman was on a pro-life person trying to save children, trying to save babies, but she has to endure these things. And for what? Why? Because they hate God, they hate human, they hate we the people, they hate babies, they hate the future. And so, and they do that. And let's not forget that one of the things that happens with this is that it is a money operation for selling off parts of these little innocents. So that's a whole nother ball of wax when it comes to what's happening here. Yeah, it's a money maker. Death of the innocent, blood on our hands. And you mentioned something earlier. Yes, Father is upset because when you take the blood of innocent children, this is the whole country is under the wrath, right?
Yep.
We all are. We're all guilty. We're all guilty. Yep. And we're all going to be punished for it. We're all going to have to pay the price, right? But this is what's happening, and people don't understand that. It's murder of the innocent, and the Bible tells you the innocent blood. No, you don't. Right? You don't. Jesus was innocent blood. Babies are innocent blood, and you don't take the innocent blood. We're gonna be judged for it. We're gonna be
judged. I think we're being judged. I can't. We're being judged. I can't imagine that we're not at the end of the book. We're at the end of the book. We're at Revelation. Like you can't look around and not go, what's really happening here? You know, like some really interesting things are going on that it's all is going to be revealed little by little. Things are coming out. People are seeing things. They're like, oh my God, look at that revelation right there. Like I have to say, you know, Trump is buying 2 billion vaccines. Like for what?
I don't know. I
don't either.
Seen that. I don't know.
Oh, he is. Like I'm like, why is that happening? We're going to buy, you know, financial interest into the Gaza Strip. That's really interesting. The Noahide laws have been signed. That's really interesting. Like you start looking at some of the things that are happening, you know, you just go, this is very biblical happening.
Yeah. The whole Gaza Strip and, you know, taking over that area. I mean, something's got to give. These people have been in this fight since the Abraham. Okay, since the days of Abraham. This is how long this has been going on. And none of this is new. And so I think with the US really taking control of that and just giving a different way outside of what's been for the thousands of years. I mean, this place is completely destroyed, and just letting the people come back in, it's going to be the same thing over. It's going to be the same thing continuing. So I say, you know what, let it be what it is. If, you know, we're going to build properties and we're going to turn it into Dubai, let it be done. Let it be done.
I think that we're in really, really interesting times. Really interesting. Yeah. I'm interested to see what happens. You know, comments have been made that just make you think. Strategy pieces have happened where you're like, I wonder why that happened. Yeah. You know, countries are saying certain things. We got the American Canal, no longer the Panama Canal. Like, it just makes, you know, Doge is happening, the Department of Education, the USAID is happening, like all these different things. It's like, I wonder what's gonna, like, you know, transpire and how is all of this going to end, right? And then how do we the people have influence over it to make sure that as things are progressing, that it's progressing the way we would want to see it happen? And when I say we the people, and it's not just we the American people, but I say we the people across the world.
Mm,
I don't mean the political class. I mean the everyday people. When we look over in Poland or Ukraine or Russia or China or wherever, right? We're all just normal people. Like,
yeah,
it's not that we are upset with each other, it's that we have an issue with what our governments are doing. You know, like,
yeah,
we're not mad at what Ukraine is doing or what the Russian people are doing. It's what their government's doing. It's what,
yeah.
is what our
Right.
government's doing. And I hope that we don't get judged because of what our government's doing, because we don't fully agree with what our government's doing at all,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
USAID is a perfect example of we don't agree with what our government's doing.
Mhm.
But we, the everyday people, are banding together across the world and saying, we don't like this global stuff that's happening, their agenda and what they're looking to do, the WHO, the WEF, and all of them.
Yeah.
No, we're going to push back on all of that. We're going to have our voices going out there. We're going to be telling our local, our state, and our federal representatives what it is that we wish to see happen. And we hope that all the people across the world do the same thing with their representatives as well.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the things that we have to pay attention to when it comes to our government is we're seeing a lot of strategic moves within the neighbors nearby us, right?
Mm.
And like all the people who are able to come here without having to cross over the ocean and so on. We're seeing a lot of um things happening nearby neighbors, not really far out there, but all of the people close to us. And one of the things that came up in the news cycle this week was, I think it was, gosh, I can't think of which country it is right now, but Secretary of State Marco Rubio traveled this week, and some of these things came about, and I could see strategically why is it that it's Rubio that Trump put in as to be Secretary of State, because he is literally dealing with these countries, these nearby countries, and getting things done. And so one of the things that came up this week was, I forget which country it is, but the president of that country said, you know what? Yeah, we welcome you to, because they have this infrastructure, this prison infrastructure. Like they've got it like down packed. Like this is their business. And they says, yeah, we will take these criminals off your hands. We will take them into our prisons. And you know what else they said they will do? They will take American citizen criminals who are, just violent and just wicked, awful. They said, yeah, we'll take them. And I mean, it's kind of controversial, isn't it? We've never heard of such a thing where a different country is saying, they're not only taking the illegals, because a lot of the country born, they're not taking their own citizens back. They don't want them. And President Trump, and they're saying, we want them out of the US. We want them gone. And so this country, I forget which one it is. Maybe El Salvador.
El Salvador? I think it's El Salvador.
Yeah. And I think, and there he's like, you know what? Because they've got the infrastructure. They've got it all set up. And they was like, yeah, we'll take those criminals, relieve them. You're going to have to pay us now, but we'll take them for you. And guess what? Bonus, we'll even take your own criminals for you. Can you imagine that? Like, I mean, just thinking about
free labor. It's free labor. Well, you think about the prisons here in the United States of America, Visa, MasterCard, they're all like, they're paying the people like what, 10 cents a day, 10 cents an hour. I don't know, whatever. It's ridiculous what they're paying them. It's basically free labor.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead. Take all the people, all the negative people to El Salvador, stick them in your prisons, do whatever you want with them. Bye.
I'm okay with it. I said, you know what? They can turn El Salvador, the place, they can take out the regular people and just have it as a home for criminals.
There you go. Why not?
Why?
Let the good people live their lives and enjoy themselves and, just be in love with being with family and
and just
Yeah.
and let them work. And I made the joke that, you know, there will be protests in the street because there'd be a whole lot of Negroes going out there. And, you know, they're going to say it's all them trying to get rid of the Negroes. But it's not a joke because it's true. That's exactly what would happen. That's exactly what would happen. Are you kidding me? It's racist. Over there to El Salvador. It's racist.
Too funny. Too funny. All right, my girlfriend, is there anything else that we wanted to cover tonight?
I think we covered everything. Board of Ed, USAID. Oh, there's one I wanted to cover just to tie in last week's conversation. So we talked last week about Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren, right? And we talked about her making, you know, grilling RFK Jr. on the stand to become, you know, the new food czar, or making America healthy again. So here it is that it came out this week. The numbers came out in reference to who in our Congress has been making really big bucks with big pharma. And probably you can't tell it from here, but there's our girl Elizabeth Warren. And thus far, I don't know if this is just this year or the last couple of years or however it goes, but she has made $1.2 million plus in making sure that big pharma stays in business. There's a whole slew of them. And by the way, all Democrats. And the biggest one of them all is our boy, Bernie Sanders, with nearly $2 million.
Let me be clear.
$2 million Bernie Sanders has made with big pharma. Why? So they can continue to push disease. They can continue to push these vaccines, these needles with juice in them into your body, pills that don't really heal you, so they can keep you hooked on. Guess what? They got paid, baby. They got paid. Elizabeth Warren got paid nearly $2 million. She got paid $1.2 million plus. Raphael Warnock, I'm very surprised to see him up here. I mean, he made 1.7 million, almost 1.8 million. But Bernie Sanders is leading the pack with nearly $2 million.
That makes me sick. It makes me so sick. Every time you and I talk, like I'm an empath. I get nauseous. And can you imagine these people, how they sleep at night going, I'm going to make all this money off of the deaths and the hurts of other people. They don't care. Like, what is wrong with people? I don't understand. I just don't get it.
I don't get it either. It's terrible. But this is what we're facing. When they come out here outraged, and I would be remiss if we didn't mention really quickly the protest that they had the other day. Also, there's been a couple of them. And so they were out there at a podium. We had Chucky Schumer.
He's done
fight for you. We ain't gonna fight.
We're fighting you.
We ain't never giving up. And this was about USAID. And what we find so interesting is that they'll be out here on these podiums, but they never address what we're talking about. They're not going to address, the people we know now that you're funding sex change operations for people in Jamaica, right? We're going to bypass that. They don't want to have a conversation about the why. Like, why are we shutting down the USAID building? Why are we shutting down the Board of Ed? Why are we doing these things? Why are we doing these things?
We're shutting them down because they're laundering operations, because they're doing things that are against our interests, because our society looks the way that it does. Instead of using those funds to help the American people, they're pushing an agenda that we don't agree with. And that's why you and I are here. with the conservative poet and Watchman Action talking about these things, because I know we're not the only ones that are feeling this way,
Yeah.
right? But we need all of us to step up and to start talking about what's going on. We just need to be flooding the zone with how we are feeling about the situation. Because I don't know about everybody else, but I know from my personal perspective, the USAID needed to be shut down a long time ago. And thank God they found the head of the snake, right? As far as I'm concerned, if you want to talk about the main area that where they were laundering all of our money and our resources, there you go. It was right there.
Yeah.
You know?
Just to throw it in, I believe we've hit the $40 trillion mark in our debt as a country. $40 trillion, I believe, is now what we are in debt with. 40 trillion.
Can't repay that.
Think
Yeah.
about
and
it.
then our currency's worth nothing.
No, and how much of that has gone to the pockets of these people, of, you know, the Elizabeth Warrens, the Raphael Warnocks, the Maxwell Frostes. Maxwell Frost is already a millionaire. Did you know that? He's been in.
He couldn't get.
He's already a millionaire. He's already a millionaire. Uber driver. You're making $174,000 a year as a congressman. And you've been in 4 years? He just got reelected. So now it's 4 years. He's already a millionaire. A millionaire.
You know, if that doesn't get people upset, I don't know what else can.
I don't know what
I
will.
mean, we've got people that are struggling, right? And you could just get elected and get like a Bernie Sanders and a Pocahontas behind you, and next thing you know, you're a millionaire.
It's a disgrace.
It is disgraceful. It is disgraceful.
And one more thing, I think, just about Maxwell Frost, as we go into the 2026 cycle, you know, I really think that this is the opportunity to use what's happening at the federal, to use what we're seeing across this country right now to eradicate these blue areas of people like Maxwell Frost, of people like Maxine Waters, of people like, you know, all of these radical lefts who, again, are selling us down the river for their own pocketbooks. This is the time for we the people to stand up in 2026 in these midterms and say, we the people are not gonna take it. We're not gonna take it.
So RC and I are starting our Watchman Action workbook. We're going to be teaching the Watchman Action workbook because we're not going to take it anymore, right? It's time for us to come together as a community of people and say, in my community, here are the people that are interested in talking about this topic right here. And we're going to fix this issue in our community. We're going to start having people coming together and doing what they're capable of doing inside their community, taking responsibility for what it is that they can do, right? Because it's time for the American people to come together, to lock arms. I had a friend of mine, she said to me, she raised my hand, she was holding my hand, and she said to me, Juliana, will your arm ever get tired? And I had to stop for a second. I thought, no, because if you're holding my hands up, right? My arm, when I'm tired, I can let go. And then when you're tired, I'm holding your arm up and you can let go. So if we're holding each other up, right, we never get tired. That's what coming together is, why it's so important. And that's why Watchman Action is doing what we're doing, because we need to come together as a people group. I always say there's only two people groups. The people group that are for the Father and the people group that are not for the Father. All the people that are for the Father, we're coming together and doing what it is that we're capable of doing. And Watchman Action is the way to do that, okay? And having a voice and coming onto a podcast like The Conservative Poet and being able to say, we're not going to take it. No, we're not going to take it. It's time for us to have that voice and be talking to the people and to be unifying and doing the things that we need to do. So I'm going to encourage everybody to go to watchmanaction.org. rcandI.org to learn more about what RC and I are doing, our publications, the things that we're writing about, the things that we're talking about, the media pits that we're doing, and Watchman Action itself as a workbook. And go to Amania and the Conservative Poet.
Yes. So here I am putting on live events called Liberty Halls. And this is a place where you can come and have conversations about what we're seeing, the issues. We've had some great ones. We've got one coming up in February, and it is in the Orlando area. And you can go to libertyhalls.com and you'll be able to find that and see what we're doing there. So again, conversations about the issues, bringing each other together so we can start to have these meaningful conversations. And this way we can start to build it out, starting it in different areas. Again, bringing people together so we can talk about what we're seeing, what's happening. Because again, if we are coming together, if we're conversating, if we're doing these things, we're going to build each other up. And like Juliana said, we're going to hold each other up so we can make change in our community. So that's what Liberty Halls is all about.
Amania, I love you. You're my sister. I am so thrilled and honored to be here with you tonight and every Friday. So I appreciate you and I love you. And everybody out there, everybody out there, we love you too.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because these are very, very important. Share it with your community, share it with your friends. This way, the algorithm will pick this up and push us out there so more people across this country and across the world will be able to tap in to what we're talking about. So thank you very much for that. We do appreciate that, and we love you too. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.